Chili here with Serious Dallas Moon. I don't normally record in Saturn Hour. I'll probably re-record it. This is Midheaven, Procyon, Ascendant Spica. And Mercury is 22ing, Moon is sweet, Beta per se, applying to conjoin Uranus. Now, the atmosphere is that either somebody or whatnot has kind of like a last ditch at trying to triangulate or to create a drama, um, and there are repetitive attempts to collapse something into kind of like a drama triangle where it's quite clear that the Uranus issue is Epstein rings. And here is the thing, it feels like the people that try to respond from the very thing that created the issue, they try to place it as if someone is interesting or like a challenge to something that is boring. It's kind of like the interesting one or the humdrum one rather than um, acknowledging the Epstein list in the midst. So people try, it's kind of like, it's very Beta per se. It's kind of like somebody's trying to collapse the storyline into something that is triangulation or drama triangle where it's not. And this is because they find it difficult to deal with the basically ritual abuse based society. And the fact that it's getting at their relationships, okay? Like, um, whether it's marriage, whether it's, I don't know, okay? Um, because the fact that the Epstein list collapsed, okay, it's kind of like it collapsed on the people that said that the Me Too went too far. Like I said, Procyon in the sky, Spica in the sky. I don't normally record in Saturn hour. Um, but this is the, um, how should I say that? Because we were so used to having the media collapsing something around the personal relationship where it's kind of like, okay, what is, if there is, how should I say it? If something is not consumed, what is the erotic challenge? A Peter Rings cloning MK. um, porn addictions, at the very least. Somebody like snuff film addiction, say it. Okay. Um, because certain of these people have to record those. So now here is the thing, it's done amongst circles, particularly the visible ones, that it's their job to flirt with everyone. Everyone. Okay. Um, and it's kind of like people don't really know what to do with that, so they try to collapse something. Now, here's the thing, they can't really let this go. And so I guess it's one of those situations in the background where they could have been gossip, and then there was, it's something that I heard several people mentioning something like that in the air. Um, Shout out to Light Sefa. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. What I would probably get from that, and again, Saturn hours, so take that with a grain of salt. But um, what I would probably get from that is that somebody may have been subjected to. Now, here's the thing, set somebody up in those societies meets is literally inauguration. This is so like for people that have nothing to do with anything that has ever anybody around them has never been in any of those things. Um, and so for me, I was surrounded with that because I went to academia and because everything I did with my life basically would mean like I would go to like when you're good enough at something, then you're gonna be surrounded with the people that try to bring you to their circles. And here's the thing with that: it probably is something like somebody was either his job was to set somebody up, or that they were juxtaposed by those setups. Um, and they could have like completely smeared the grass of someone. And then it was one of those situations where they have been so obsessively smearing that everybody around them noticed that. Are you smearing or smitten? um, and and so and then everybody around them would try to collapse that to relational stuff, where in fact what is the erotic challenge in that so-called triangle or whatnot? um, what is missing with the Missy? um, Running an extortion cult doesn't bring the water. Okay, now I stay humble. Every person is a single kidnapping away from becoming a Maxwell or a Detru. It's angering, it's frightening, it's terrifying. Um, and this is just probably the reason people try to escape to, oh, it's a drama triangle. Or somebody was talking like he was gonna set somebody up and then um, but this is exactly where if something was missing with the Missy, it's not that the Missy is not interesting or boring or humdrum and there's this interesting. No, is that the same thing that was missing with the Missy met itself in somebody that tackles those things. And this is exactly where people will fall into their egos because they're going to try to show that yes, they can be that partner, yes, they can be loyal, yes, they can be this, they can be that. Uh, but at the end of the day, nobody can have actually thriving, loving sensuality, relationship, and so on and so forth while running an extortion cult or while being a part of an extortion cult. And this came up so many times. Every time around something around the beta per se, you're in a beta per se. And this is where it's kind of like there is stagnation because even though the Epstein lists are out there, it's not about, oh, you thought that the Me Too went too far, now see the Epstein list. It's nothing like that. It's kind of like, well, there is still that issue. And that issue is not that the Missy is boring and then there is this exciting other. It's that what is missing will keep trying to meet itself. And by the way, it's also not that somebody's whole world is a hobby to somebody else. Not at all. It's not a fucking around type of energy. Okay? And this is the escapism that people try to collapse it into. Oh, that was boring, that was boring. Hey, you kind of into that interesting person. Um, no. And you know, as an astrologer, I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say, if it's not between two people even, because what was missing is the same obstacle that one runs into. And the running into is around something like a setup. It's not a third party thing. Okay? It's kind of like the good news, it's not a third party. The bad news, if there is a second release of names to, we might be on the list. Okay? And um, what the entire community at times maybe have tried to frame as a third party and wasn't collapsing to those frequencies is the people that said no to and kind of faced the consequences of saying no to petering. Okay? because because that's everywhere. Um, and the people in it, they're escaping. They're in escapism because they don't really know how to. They don't really know how to even live and work and have housing and so on without that. And the people outside, they don't really know how to have a career, how to they can't be in it because they're not. Okay, and the people that are in it were so severely tortured and had literally mostly no way out, and then they were supposed to really, really want it at the same time. Um, And the people that said no to that, they are basically kind of like the survivors of the people that are in it. To no fault of anybody, because like I said, those things are manufactured with and so at one point or another I think everyone tried to dissociate into, or simply they weren't aware that that thing is connected to that thing, or they wanted to maintain the benefit of the doubt, or um, but there is something here that creates um, how should I say that? There's something here that from various aspects doesn't let go, because how can people let go from the fact that to have a career they need to participate in beyond horrible things, and of course it affects their ability to have intimate marital life, or intimate non-marital life that are loving. um, and even career satisfaction. So it's both having to face the consequences of their actions, the judgment that they used to place upon the victims of their actions, and the ego collapse that their sense of self somewhat depends on the person that they were set to set up. Um, the fact that a lot of it is not based on, like, if you think people think about relationships like dating, getting to know each other. No, those are really weird settings. Okay, those are really weird situations, and um, for some of them, it could even be that they have not met in person, like that level of weirdness, um, and the fact that the setting of those societies, okay, um, is such that that whatever the, like, if they would frame it as a triangle, whatever they would choose, they would need to face it whether within their relationships or, okay, what other relationships or something like that. Um, so yeah, so it's kind of like the reckoning is, and it can be a lot of people really showing their um, loving side, and sometimes even not as a bait, but they were supposed to do that as a bait, and or people trying to show their loving side and then rely on this that it will be as a bait, but they are met with with a certain consistency of No, I actually like to be with me. You'd actually need to. It's not what is drop the Peter rings. Drop the Peter ring is not just some name list. Okay, it's basically a societal change. Now, people might even be wrapped up in all the things that they've been telling themselves, like, oh, why can't they, I don't know, date a good boy or date a good girl? Falcon, anybody that would want to do anything in any field, in any field, once they're good at what they do, and anybody that is excited about something is gonna get good at what they do. They're gonna provide their own unique value. Then immediately those circles and the people in it know they know to the length of where they go. Don't fool yourself. It's like besieging a person, not allowing them to see someone's not okay. Don't play yourself, okay? So, um, and yet to be with would entail to drop the Peter rings, which is the treason cults, which is the snuff films, which is the dead true states, which is a shit ton of stuff that nobody's supposed to even admit that exists. There's even been because there have been several such situations. There's even been a situation where I saw um, certain energy or the energy that was, let's say, the married partner saying, well, if there's actually something between you two, then I will let go. And kind of like, wait a fucking second. The settings in which they met, it was not. For some people, it may have been more innocent, and for some people, for some people less. But there was definitely some Epstein-like settings around the encounters where the so-called third party um, was basically a victim of to various degrees. I know the Greece was. um, when are we done with this Saturn? And here is the thing: until those things don't change, everybody's success and happiness deals with a challenge. And what I'm getting is that a lot of people see the sparks, but it's the spark of it's 2026, so the sparks of authentic love, the sparks of actual chemistry, or the truth, the daunting truth that that their sense of self has been dependent on. um, and the great downfall of the ego. The great the ego downfall is like Berlin Wall down. Um, 'Cause for many of those people had a 9/11 on their egos, not by anybody external. So, and particularly with this eclipse we had with Venus Rahu in Pisces, because I can tell you I made a talisman with this Venus. This Venus is remediating my Sun Saturn opposition, um, which would remediate a lot of Neptune or Pluto soul oppositions that I would have in synastry with that, which would it's still trining my Jupiter, which would trine year 1989 Saturn Neptunes, um, which would, and it trines my Moon, which would trine any Middle Decan Cancer placement. So it was so yeah, it trines Middle Decan, Scorpio and Cancer. Sixtiles my Sun. So any people with placements there. So that's kind of like um, it's having such a point, it shifts the perspective. So and having an eclipse on that point with Venus Rahu, which is relationships, values, and so on. Um, it's a dramatic shift. So for people that, I naturally have Lilith there, but for people that have, oh my gosh, the placements in Pisces. Somebody was having a premonition before this eclipse. Um, yeah. And now, there is a lot of people that are facing a lot of truths. And those are not negative truths. In fact, what's challenging is, is that a lot of them are positive truths. For example, um, if somebody was thinking that they got, I don't know, cheated on, first of all, they may discover that they weren't cheated on, or if somebody was thinking, or if somebody was thinking that it happened because they weren't loved or weren't valued or weren't this or weren't that, kind of like, no, it's something completely different. It's kind of like there was an Epstein list dropping. And if somebody was thinking that they were being seen as like people not appreciating what they have and so on and so forth, always running after, they may find out that no, it was an Epstein list in the way. Or if somebody was thinking that somebody is trying to steal their partner, they might find out that the other way around. It's not, and not from the point of demoting anyone. Is kind of like, wait a second, there is something really serious about the way the way everything successful has been run, and a part of being successful is not having to be mingled with Peter rings. Um, while not ignoring or gaslighting or spiritually bypassing what actually created the situation. Okay, what actually created the Epstein list, or okay, or the death row states and so on. with the dissociations, with paperclip, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of people that deal with really deep and intricate truths about relationships at large. Um, it's not for nothing that this eclipse was juxtaposed to the Epstein List release. And this, how should I say that? The huge swiping under the rug of the Beta Per Se stories is compounding, but when we address that, then we also discover a lot of positive truths that were keeping people in so many, you know, issues with themselves. Um, so the way that things were up until now, they're not just going to return to what they were on a worldly scale, whether people see it as big wars or. And one of the things, I was watching Cressia Tassio's Vyacheslav series, his prophecy series, and I think a lot of us received things regarding that. Um, I don't agree with anything, with everything, with all. How should I say it? I comment on the second episode, but um, it's kind of like, hey, if it's going down, people discover that they do have feelings, and and if this is going towards this, apocalyptic, um, then it means that there might be a lot of reckoning where many of the ego, and again, ego here is really, it's not about, we talk about narcissism. What's narcissism in essence? Is basically a form of relational trauma in early childhood. Um, so there are going to be a lot of reckonings as well. Going along with those Epstein rituals will simply mean going down, ignoring the reckoning. And to be frank, I don't even think Uranus will allow that to be. Uranus is the liberator. Thinking, wait a fucking second, you want to tell me you just have a ritual where you, I don't know, rape a child or mutilate or whatnot, and you go back home to make love with your spouse, kiss your children in the forehead, and you want to tell me that, there really is a reckoning moment. Not with everyone, but wherever this pertaining to this reading, it was rising because something wouldn't let go. It's kind of like somebody wouldn't let go. Um, but they can't keep it. How should I say that? They can't keep playing the same old games. And they knew it from the get-go. And it could be more than one person that's having this reckoning situation. And as a relational astrologer, let me say it out and clear. It's very likely that whatever they if they're not like single, it's very likely that whatever was within the relation, one of two things. Either they were they were committing to the partner that was kind of like the loving mother of their children, which is sometimes where she would do the courting and the preserving and okay, sometimes I'm saying one of the cases. And then as there is some shadow work, they would meet with another person outside those circles that would do all this, how to love themselves and so on and so forth. Then they begin to meet the moons behind them. And they would be that moon behind. Okay? So it can be either that, where somebody was playing the reversed role um, because of ritual. By the way, ritual, it's a side effect of ritual abuse sometimes. Okay, I'm not here with traditional gender roles, not at all, but so it's either that or that there never been anything wrong with the committed relation except the settings of those societies. And so that would mean it's kind of like before Enlightenment Chopwood, after Enlightenment Chopwood, it's kind of like that was the partner before, um, that was the partner during Satanic Ritual Abuse called like society and after. And that other person could have been um, whether the child self or okay, or something of that sort. Um, or that it could be two very similar people, one outside the cold circles and one born into the cold circles. And I'm getting the fact that anyway, a lot of it is the case because, and you're gonna see it because as astrologer, I might even see something like ascendant Rahu. Um, Rahu moons come up a lot. Rahu Venus, Rahu moon. Um, um, where and when the threshold is that if it was not like Epstein list settings, I would say learn from non-monogamy communities where the metamor is in many cases meeting certain needs that couldn't be met in the relationship, but are also invigorating the relationship to something that I don't know, let's say you meet a metamor and that metamor is singing and playing music. And it's like, well, the spouse, he picks up a guitar, and it's not about wanting to be like the metamor. It's like, oh, they forgot that when they were a child, they had that dream. And it's been, Uranus, it's creative endeavors and so on and so forth. It's remembering our childhood dreams. But with Epstein cult settings, it's both that and the fact that those dreams have the Epstein-Barr syndrome. So, and everybody's dealing with that. Um, so this is what I have to say, and we should not ignore this Epstein-Barr when we come to address our relational issues, or assume that we can just keep on going or do what we have to do. And no, there's a reason why it's collapsing. Uranus at the last degrees of Taurus. And the tendency to collapse it into the previous cult-like ways or coping mechanisms of dealing with those things are also not going to be the solution. Okay, ingresses of outer planets can also be tending to Uranus releases old coping mechanisms. Okay, Uranus ingressed into Taurus. Companies, many things went out the window. Some of the things that went out the window need to be retrieved, and some of the things that went out the window for good. Uranus is about to ingress this year into Gemini, and certain things are going out the window. But we can't expect things to be able to return to what they were before. Relationships that are going to overcome Uranus in Taurus are not going to overcome by controlling or gaslighting. And this is why it's so difficult in these societies, because people really are trying to control everything there, and that's impossible. It's bringing the side of Uranus that collapses it. Um, so so those relationships that are going to sustain are probably going to sustain because they adapted to the liberation of Uranus. And the liberation is from the Epstein-Barr. It's not the White March. We do not have we've been that before, then we know how to deal with that. Those coping mechanisms, one by one, foundationally in the coming year, are going to collapse. Both by the ingress of Uranus to Gemini, by the Saturn-Neptune finalizing only towards 2027. Am I saying that the Messiah days are here and everybody's going to be making actually loving love? Oh my God, I wish it was so. Um, but I'm definitely saying that it's just not going to be the way it was before. And we can't collapse it to, even as an astrologer, I had to deal as an astrologer in the last several years with the fact that astrology meets Epstein-Barr. It's kind of like And with Uranus, it was really fun. It's kind of like, okay, what is this coming to liberate in our lives? Are they on Epstein list? On that list, on Rolodex, or both? Okay. I I thought my relational problems were purely astrological. But because it was funny, but with Uranus, it's kind of like, okay, what is coming to liberate? Um, if somebody needs to create, somebody needs to, I don't know, do astrology, somebody needs to, um, I don't know, get a jade egg, like, what? Some guy needs to get a jade egg. I mean, I don't know. Um, and then it's like, okay, Uranus comes to liberate, Kundalini energies, life energy. By the way, Kundalini is not an elite scam. The elite scam is siphoning life energy. Okay, Kundalini energy is simply like the normal. Um, but here's the thing. Um, the elite definitely taught it inverted, like they teach everything, but so that God forbid their people won't be actually safe and free. Um, and this is, I'm sorry, so that Baphomet forbid. That's the same. Anyway, um, but then it comes this threshold, and I'm like, okay, what is this Uranus coming to bring into being, or what is this Uranus coming? What is the thing? What is the missing? What should be expressed more of ourselves? What should drop the Peter rings? It comes to drop the Peter rings. I was like, okay, but why is it? I can't say it. I'm not the one on the list, so it's probably. And it's like, well, as astrologer, I see the patterns. um, and also before I connected the dots that I never connected. Okay, there were things that I was seeing, and I'm like, my gosh, that behavior is coming from a place that is either culturally not aware of something, or and I was like, I was the one who was culturally not aware of something. So that was Uranus going through the decan of spirit and matter for me. Um, and here's the thing. people did have to contend with the fact that something was not falling into the, it's kind of like the Me Too, but megalithic. And I know that the Me Too was megalithic relative to what people expected it to be. Um, but those old ways, those old coping mechanisms, they just don't work. With Uranus, because there's Uranus here involved, Uranus is not going to let us be with coping mechanisms that don't work. Um, Chiron at the end of Aries is symbolizing that even the shifting the blame, we kind of like, we've cruised through both the blame and shifting the blame. The level at which we speak now is different. All the things, all the oaths of silence, all what the oaths of silence had to protect was already exposed. Cloning, MK Ultra, MK Often, the Harvard connection, the AI connection, the intelligence connection, the genodemocide connection, the occult and religious connection, the currency connection, all all the things that they have an oath of silence around. Um, tip of the iceberg, but let's just say if they weren't discovered now, they're about to be in the coming year even. And ain't nothing anybody can do about it. Now, because of those things, now here, let me talk about even another thing. With the setup settings, they will usually go with somebody having a resistance or has given up on, I don't know, dating or something like that. And then the goal would be to get them to believe in love. Now, then, as that thing wasn't, for the survivors, let's say, as that thing wasn't being borne out and didn't create the drama to the direction and to the and in the way that they expected it to, or for the people that or in the way that they expected it to the people that expected it to, then okay, as that happened, then began the usual coping mechanisms. Venus, Moon ingress to conjoin Beta Persei. 1 degree from Uranus. Now, here's the thing with this: people want to be heard, they want to be seen, and they want to be felt. And actually, the more convoluted the situation is, the more those needs want to meet adaptively. And the insistence, I know people like me had this insistence on secure attachment rather than trauma bond, relaxed arousal rather than misplaced arousal, honoring non-erotic needs, and honoring the erotic self. All those things are complete polar opposite. Albeit the math and the show-offs, and also the awareness that there is. It's not a cross-cultural even. It's bad then cross-cultural because it's like the people that tended to that had more proximity to tend to these things, or more disposition. Like I said, I grew up to a mother that saw people married, in her case, saw people married not of love. Around her said, I would only marry with someone I'm in love with. And seeing children born, and she's saying, well, I want to be a mom really, really bad, but I also want to be birthing natural birth from love. It's only this year that I understood what the importance of how it plays a role in my life trajectory, the time where they try to kill the human race and clone everyone. And there's just something about authentic love frequencies that nobody can ignore. And those things were usually used in. I'm half Israeli, half Dutch, so I don't know which one is having more honey traps than the other, um, which could explain many things. Um, and from that point, coming from my family, insisting on the things that I insist, and like me, there are other people that are resonating with that, and those people are triggering the stuff within everyone, and they can't say it. Um, there might be even things that people are completely not aware of. I know for me, like sometimes I would see, certain faces, and I'm like, what is this? What is this face doing here?